Welcome to Nerdschatting, movie, TV, comic chat. Thanks for tuning in.
Welcome everybody to the Nerdschatting podcast, part of the Nerdschatting.
You laughed.
You laughed. You threw me off. This is supposed to be the new season. It's supposed to be professional, and you laughed midway through
Ben
the stuff.
carries on the clicking for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
You're looking at him, giving him the death stare. He's still doing it, and it makes me snigger.
Welcome everybody. I'm not cutting that out. It's staying in. Welcome to the Nerdschatting podcast. As I said, part of the Nerdschatting network. Thank you. We are Nerdschatting. We talk about movies and TV shows and comic books and all things nerdy. And my name is Nate, and with me are my two very good friends, JB and Ben. Hello, boys.
Hello.
Hello there. How are you doing?
I got it out. I got all that spiel out eventually.
Are you reading from this, or do you just
remember?
remember?
I literally just do it. Yeah. Maybe I should write it down.
Well, I don't know. It just sounds good all the time. So I don't.
What do you want? What do you
I need £15, please.
No, not happening.
Okay.
So today's podcast is going to be all about Stanley Lieber, a very, very, very influential man who very sadly passed away this week. When was it?
Tuesday. I believe it was Tuesday.
Yeah, we're recording on Thursday. Just awful news. So let's celebrate.
So Stanley Lieber is also known by his Hollywood name of Stanley.
Yeah. I think most people listening know that.
Sure, but just in case they don't.
I don't think my brother-in-law would have known that. So thank you, Ben.
That's okay.
Hello, James's brother-in-law, who
William.
shall remain nameless. No, he's James's brother-in-law.
Oh, is that okay?
Yeah.
Shh, he's got
Yeah.
keep his social identity.
Hey, James's brother-in-law. Thanks for all the feedback. We'll try and listen to all of it, but yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Let's just see if he can hear you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear this?
So, as a tribute to Stanley, we were going to talk about the characters he created, co-created and created, who our favourites are, why they're our favourites. Talk a little bit about Stanley himself and where he's come from, the cameos he's had in movies, and we've got some feedback from listeners.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, but we're gonna smash through it. We're gonna talk at length about Mr. Stanley Lieber.
Why do you keep calling him Stanley Lieber? He was
it's
known
his
as Stan
name.
Lee.
It's his name.
That was his birth name. He changed it to Stan Lee.
Yeah, but his daughter is Lee. No, his daughter is Lee. His brother is Lieber.
But his daughter is Lee. He was Lee. He's Stan Lee.
I would just say that on Wikipedia he's Stan Lee, so it must be true.
Exactly.
He's Stan Lee.
Thank you, James.
Okay, it's on Wikipedia. No one can update that.
That's
it is
true.
purely the truth.
It's magically updated by the truth.
Yeah.
I like that. There's a sort of like a
There's a truth being,
a truth being. Yeah, exactly. That lives among all of us. And
You sound like it's not
the
a
case.
real being?
Is it the cousin of the Tooth Fairy
Yes.
and the brother of the Easter Bunny
Yes.
and the son of Father Christmas?
That's a nice family little
Yeah,
linkage.
I like
That was
that,
well
yeah.
done. Anyway,
the
stop
truth
it.
being. So Stanley, born in 1922, December baby.
Yeah.
Good lad, like it. As everyone knows, grew up in New York and made pretty much every superhero in the world ever.
All the good ones.
Oh, contentious.
Yeah, I know. I just thought I'd put it out there, see what you
So
feel.
basically, he co-created with Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko. The list includes Spider-Man, X-Men, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Fantastic Four, Black Panther, Daredevil, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man. I mean, tons more, but they're the ones he's sort of closely credited with. I guess I was going to throw it out to you guys about what you thought about Stanley and his presence, his sort of persona. I saw, let me give you a little bit before you answer, saw the Marvel dedication to him on the YouTube channel. There was some interviews with loads of different creators and people who had been influenced by him. And one of them was saying his greatest creation was Stanley himself. Because he was this presence, he was this person, and he had this, the saying, Excelsior is what he used to write at the end of his letter pages, and it was kind of his catchphrase.
And he just liked the way that sounded.
It
didn't mean anything other than that sounds really like it's got an awful lot of gravitas behind it. I'm going to use that, and I love that about him.
So he was a very outgoing, very happy seeming, proud man of what he created. But there is a slightly darker side in that there are a lot of stories, allegations about fallouts with Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko.
I don't think we should go over any of that, to be perfectly honest with you. Honestly, I don't, because I think we should celebrate this man's life, not talk about potential controversy around him when he was alive.
I don't think it necessarily is a negative on him. It's just about if anything, my understanding is Jack Kirby's quite a difficult man.
And we all know difficult men, don't we, Ben?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, so, the three great minds of us.
Talking about Ben, right?
Yeah. we have our conflict, and I think isn't that how the genius can... I'd say genius, how people make themselves better by having those difficult conversations about, I've got this idea. Well, actually, how do you think about it this way? Oh, no, I don't really like that. And then actually, weeks later, you may come and go, do you know what, mate? I'm really sorry, but you're right. That would be a better way to take this character forward, or something like that. I think those are points in our lives where we know ourselves even better, and we learn from that. And that may be how, I don't know, hypothetically speaking, Spider-Man came about, or whatever. But I mean, I can see what Ben's saying, and this guy was absolutely awesome.
His genius for me is that he was able to take these godlike beings. Sometimes in real cases, he would write gods, and make them walk down the street that was just by where you lived if you're in America, and give them the problems that he had when he was growing up, or you knew about. Like Peter Parker's, he can't pay for rent, or he's got to finish his grades, or he's got to get to his aunt's birthday party, but at the same time he's got to
pick up her medicine,
or go and see Mary Jane, but at the same time the rhino's crashing into a bank. He did this really amazing thing with stories where he took truly fantastical, stupid, crazy, wild ideas and wrapped it around real world.
And you don't necessarily question it, because if you really think about it, if you're saying, I've got a friend who just doesn't turn up all the time and is disappears when someone else comes up, in your mind you start thinking about, well, are they stupid? They're obviously Spider-Man or something like this. But you get so wrapped up in that story that you don't think like that.
And I mean, more than that, he deals with family, Fantastic Four. He deals with prejudice and the outsiders of the X-Men, things like that. The fish out of water, Thor type stories. Disability, Daredevil, he's blind. Mm-hmm. All these sorts of really interesting.
He gave heroes real life problems.
Yeah.
So he gave Iron Man, who is a billionaire, playboy, genius, philanthropist, whatever you want to call him, whatever he says in the Avengers movie, and he placed a piece of metal of his own design in his body that was slowly killing him unless he became the Iron Man. He was the Iron Man. He became the Iron Man. He made Peter Parker have, like you said, these real world problems where he has to get medicine. He's got to go and see his girlfriend, but he's got to stop a supervillain at the same time. I know Ditko was ultimately responsible for Doctor Strange, but he had a hand in it as well. If using Doctor Strange as an example, he took away a genius surgeon's hands. He makes heroes who can do these incredible things have this underlying layer of problems that they also have to deal with. And for me, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it right now. For me, if you don't have Stan Lee, if you don't have what Stan Lee contributed to the comic book and movie universes, this world is completely different. And for the worse, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. No matter what he did, no matter who he upset or how many people he's trod on along the way.
But I don't know if he has trod on people necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's all two sides to a story, isn't it?
Well, and one of the biggest problems with comic books in terms of IP, intellectual property, is the visuals and the writing. Now, cinema has got that locked down. They know who's responsible for what along the way. Yeah. But with comic books, you kind of think the creators of it. And you think about Spider-Man, you're generally speaking, your instinct goes to the image of Spider-Man. Yep. But actually, when you think about Spider-Man, there's also with great power comes great responsibility. The fact that his Uncle Ben died and he had to then become a superhero. The stories of Spider-Man No More, where he decides to pack it in and he realises he can't pack it in because he has to be a hero. It's all story, which is where Stan Lee comes in,
Yeah, and I think, what he's done very well is relating that you become a superhero by various means, like the Hulk or whatever. How great would it be to be turned, well, maybe not me, but go mental and become really, really strong, but then look at all the damage and carnage you're causing, and how then that reacts with you when you're not the Hulk, and knowing that that's going to happen, and those issues that you wouldn't necessarily think. Someone says, "Man, I'd love to be Spider-Man." Well, yeah, why? Why would you love to be Spider-Man? Well, I can climb up walls. Yeah, okay. I can fire web from my wrists. That's cool.
Depends.
Well, but you know what I mean.
I know what
but
you
then
mean.
But as Nate, you've touched on, then you're seen as that person who is giving hope.
The responsibility.
But you have your day-to-day job as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great power, great responsibility. A tweet that came out the day that he, by the way, he died on the 12th. It was Monday.
Yeah, okay.
But we got it wrong. We said Tuesday. Sorry about that, Stan. Skybound, which is an offshoot comic book company who do a lot of work with Image Comics, and it's the founder of that is Robert Kirkman. Robert Kirkman started on, I think he started on Marvel. He did some work on X-Men, which obviously a Stanley creation. So I think Kirkman had some say in what came out on this account, but this is what they said, and it's sort of, I took from this a little bit what I was saying just a moment ago. They said, without Stan Lee, the comic book industry wouldn't be what it is today, and so many of the characters we love wouldn't exist. Thanks for everything, Stan. And you can't really say any more than that, can you? You know, the MCU, the behemoth that is the MCU, so many of those characters wouldn't exist without Stan Lee.
Lieber. All right, so we've talked a little bit about his greatness there. Is it worth maybe going over who our favourite Stan Lee creations are?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Just to prove Jack's wrong.
I'm just going to go around to the table and I'm going to whisper in James's ear who I think your favourite Stan Lee creation is. Do you mind if I do that real quick?
Well, let's go. Please hold
Actually,
corners.
how about I step away so you do it so the mic can hear, but I can't?
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
I've gone away now.
Oh wow, this is great.
No, go out the room. Go out the room.
No, you can't because you've locked the door.
Yeah, but he can unlock the door and he can go out the room.
This is weird. We've never done this before.
No, we haven't.
Is this is this a sly way of getting him out of the pod?
Okay,
Are we now
Don,
going to continue?
This is now the time of us. No. I think that Nate is going to say that his favourite Stan Lee creation is an X-Men character, and it's Cyclops.
Wow.
That's that's my guess. I might be wrong.
Okay.
That's my guess.
All right.
Come back on in,
Welcome
Nate.
back
Hello.
into the room, Nate.
Don't forget to lock the door. Yeah.
I quite like that it's captured, recorded, so that we
can
prove you wrong. So
Yeah.
that's good.
So you're going to have to go first now because we've built this up into quite a crescendo.
Oh, right, okay.
So who is your favourite Stan Lee creation?
Okay, so I was going to say, I was torn, the three I was torn around.
Okay.
I was going to say the X-Men.
Sure.
Because of the way that the it's basically puberty and sexuality or anything that sort of sets you aside from air quotes ordinary society.
Well, when it was
And this was
it
all of the X-Men
so,
as a unit.
Yeah.
Okay.
It sort of tells that story, but hidden by sci-fi.
Yeah.
So I love the X-Men, and the early X-Men are a fantastic set of books, but I didn't go with X-Men. I was going to go with Nick Fury, who's one of my greatest comic book characters I've ever read. I love Nick Fury. I love his journey. I love that he's just a normal human who manages to corral all these like godlike creatures.
And his Howling Commandos.
Yeah, exactly, Howling Commandos. But what I decided upon was Fantastic Four.
Wow.
I stand corrected.
You do.
I
Massively.
do. I mean, I was almost thinking to myself when he started, I always went with the X-Men. I thought it was going to be Cyclops.
Okay, yeah, no, Cyclops is one of my favourite characters ever. But no, the Fantastic Four. I mean, it's the birthplace of heroes in Marvel.
Okay, yeah, Marvel's first family.
Yeah, they are. They're a family. That's the key part for me.
Yeah.
And each of them has their own individual struggles. And I think that's the theme we're going to be talking about a lot, is about struggles. And that's what grounds these people, because not everything is, I've got all the money in the world and I can do whatever I want and no one's in my way. Mm-hmm. It's real world struggles. You've got, man and wife trying to stay together as a couple through their trials and tribulations of life. Mm-hmm. You've got sort of a fun playboy, crazy cool cat who actually discovers that his powers can be destructive and he has to use them for good. Mm-hmm. And then you've got some real deep, dark psychological problems with the Thing. This man who using his powers can do great things, but can never feel the touch of his loved ones. It feels like he's a monster inside the world. I think it's a fantastic series. I've loved Fantastic Four for years. I don't talk about it a lot on the podcast. The Jonathan Hickman run on it particularly is fantastic.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, fantastic.
But it can only work because of that initial run. And so my Fantastic Four is my favourite.
Can I just say that I think
Thank you,
this is going to be really interesting because out of the three of us, I am not a particular big comic book reader.
Sure.
So some of it, I think what you've just said there is based on what you know. I only know the Fantastic Four from the movies,
of course,
which are absolutely rubbish.
Yeah, terrible.
So everything you've just said, I'm trying to relate that, and I'm like, I've never really been able to pinpoint on that. So my view on what my favourite will be, but I'm going to go last, I think, is going to be completely different.
Okay.
Because, and I wonder whether a lot of our listeners who are not big comic book readers, are they basing it just on the movies that they've seen?
Yeah, sure.
Because you won't know, though, the movie won't show always those struggles, will it?
Well, it's one of the biggest crimes of the movie industry is that Fantastic Four hasn't been given its due, or their due, because, like I say, they're a great team to watch unfold, and
it's also my biggest regret that Stan Lee has not lived to see the Fantastic Four folded into the MCU and given the due that they deserve.
But
That's
also,
such a shame.
Their Rose Gallery. You've got Galactus, Silver Surfer, Doctor Doom, Mole Man. You've got some really incredible. Fantastic Four started the cosmic side of the Marvel Universe. I mean, Galactus. When Galactus comes down, the story of the coming of Galactus is incredibly iconic. And I don't know if you guys have read it, but you should. And the Silver Surfer coming down, he's the herald. He comes down, he basically says, "Prepare yourselves, you're gonna die." And everyone goes, "What?" And then this giant purple being from the cosmos comes down and starts to try to
eat the planet.
Yeah, more or less. It transfers the energy of the planet into feeding himself. You then discover through the Fantastic Four's machinations that Galactus he's not a bad guy. He has to do it. He's forced to do it. I don't know. I could talk about it all day, but Fantastic Four is fantastic.
Oh, very good.
Yeah,
very good. Yeah. If I'm honest with you, mine was called, and it's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's Spider-Man. The story of Spider-Man is, I love the fact that he is a teenage kid who just suddenly, through no fault of his own, just wakes up one day after being bitten by a spider, and he has the abilities of a spider. He's got precog in the fact that he's got spider sense. He can walk and crawl up walls. He's more flexible. He can web swing because he's smart enough to develop his own web shooters. And he knows and he learns through his quite selfish actions when he first starts out as Spider-Man that with great power comes great responsibility. He had the ability to stop a robber. He didn't stop that robber. That robber then went on to murder his uncle, the only father figure he ever had because of his parents leaving him or dying or whatever version of the comic book you read, whatever happened to his parents. And the fact that poor teenage kid with all that power had to learn that way, that if he didn't step in and make the hard decision, the very worst things in life could happen to you. I love that message. I love that story. I love Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's a great character.
He is.
No denying, great
superb.
character.
I think so.
He's been through so many writers over the years after Stanley stepped away from him. But at his core, Spider-Man still has those building blocks that Stanley put into place. Mm-hmm. He's just a good person who suddenly has power and knows that he has to use that power responsibly. I love it. I love it. It's just superb. I owned an art over a couple. I almost went with the X-Men, but I've not read enough X-Men comics really to sort of go with that. I almost went with Iron Man, but again, it's just from the movies really. So ultimately, Spider-Man is my favourite.
If you two and the listeners take nothing else away from this podcast, this particular one, I recommend that just the one thing, go and find the first 6 issues of whatever character you think is interesting or you haven't read much of, and go and read those 6 issues.
Yes.
You know, they're quaint and 60s and like quirky, but I think you'll see in them real like sparkles of real genius. So,
Oh yeah, there's enough
Absolutely.
sprinkled in there that still comes through, shines through in this day and age.
So I recommend you do that.
Yeah.
JB?
So, as I said,
Yeah.
I have not read any of the comics, so mine is based on films,
Sure, that's fine. That's okay.
TV shows.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Iron Man.
No.
I can see your screen. So.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with the Incredible Hulk.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, very good.
I really, from the characters that I know,
Yeah.
he takes a form that is actually really scary. If you saw a unit of green mass coming towards you, you would be, you'd be cacking your whack. You'd be you'd be you'd be worried.
Yeah.
Someone dressed up in a spider suit. Okay, that's quite cool, but seeing this individual rocking up to you, but then trying to do some good as well, but not being able to put that rage in a cage.
And he's always, you can see he's always on the edge of that rage, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, it's just looking at. I remember the TV show, and it used to scare the living bejeebus out of me. But I really enjoyed watching it. Just looking through like every Saturday or an episode of what's Bruce Banner going from town to town. Because what will happen is he'll go to a new town. Something will happen. He'll turn into the Hulk. The Hulk will try and do some good, but smash some place up.
He tried to stay out of it.
Yeah,
then he gets pulled into
don't
hell.
make me angry.
Yeah.
You won't like me.
Yeah, you
when
won't
I'm
like.
angry.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that struggle and the inner sort of talking with each other. So, whilst he is Hulk, he is still Bruce Banner. Whilst he's Bruce Banner, he's still got Hulk.
Yeah.
So, trying to manage that, I think is just. I just sometimes we all can relate. The Hulk is that anger that comes out of us. We just don't turn green and have superhuman strength.
He's almost the opposite of Jekyll and Hyde. And I think people will say Jekyll and Hyde sometimes because the character of Jekyll and Hyde is that, scientific, mild, meek, and then there's the monster that comes out. But it's the opposite of that because it's forced upon Bruce Banner, whereas Dr. Jekyll takes a serum and becomes...
Well, I guess it was an accidental gamma rays, but
that was forced upon him. And
Yeah.
even when he changes into the Hulk, it's still forced upon him. And the Hulk isn't inherently evil, ever.
No.
In fact, he is inherently good.
But
he just is a force of...
But you could see him as an evil character, couldn't you?
Absolutely,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
If you showed a
terrifying,
picture,
yeah.
what would you say? I would say, was that a goodie or a baddie? Just cutting it right in there. You'd probably say baddie.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the power that he has, he doesn't ever restrain. So it is terrifying.
Yeah.
Because if he was running full pelt, he would go into a building, he'd
Yeah.
smash a car, he'd knock people over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And wouldn't even worry about it. I will just say I do love X-Men, though.
I don't think the X-Men have ever had a really solid representation of Stan Lee's vision on screen. I think the closest that came to it was First Class, but by then they'd already used up their best characters. The first X-Men movie wasn't about young people struggling with whatever it is that they are struggling with. It was about Wolverine. And that's sad, really. When I look back, I remember loving it. Absolutely loved it when it came out. Next 2 is a great, great fun film, but it's not that vision that Stan Lee had about
people who are different from the norm of society.
Yeah.
I say norm in air quotes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the X-Men and Fantastic Four really, really haven't been given. I think they've had, good quality in what they've done. We know Spider-Man now has some great stuff, but I think that for the essence of what the characters were initially, haven't had that.
X-Men was it was just Stan Lee's take on the civil rights movement, right?
Yeah, more
Pretty
or
much.
less. Yeah,
And a bit of teenage puberty, like you said,
Yeah.
and people who are different. Yeah, okay.
It's civil rights. It's sexuality. It's women's rights. It's.
I mean, what I think we're basically talking about is Stan Lee was able to create through comics real life issues and struggles that people were going through
And present them to the masses.
and present them to the masses, but in a way that wasn't easily identifiable, if you know what I mean.
Yes, absolutely.
So we go through struggles and things. I'm thinking about now like Black Panther. So the very first black superhero. Is that correct statement?
Not necessarily, but probably the biggest.
Yeah,
one.
Sorry, that's what I mean.
You got like Blade and Falcon and
okay.
But leading man type thing.
So again, I think the first time I came across the character was in the film, but actually thinking about that, I'd love to know more about that and read the comics to find out what that struggles were at that time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, this is actually a question. Should I read through something that was a picture that was tweeted by a friend of ours the day that Stan Lee died, and then we go through some of our listeners' favourite Stan Lee?
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Because this I thought was actually absolutely brilliant. So this was tweeted out by a friend of ours, which is Dan, formerly on the Nerdified podcast. Now he's has his own. What is it? Spider Dan and the Secret Boars, which is just Dan_Boars.
Yeah.
He tweeted this the day that Stanley died, and I grabbed a screenshot, so I thought it was beautiful. I don't know if he came up with this himself or if he grabbed it from somewhere else, but I got it from him. So Spider-Man taught me the power of responsibility. Fantastic Four taught me that having an unconventional family is normal. X-Men taught me about tolerance and diversity. Captain America taught me to speak up and be heard when something was inherently wrong. I know Captain America wasn't created by Stan Lee, but Stan Lee brought him back. Iron Man taught me people can change. Hulk taught me not to bottle up my feelings. Thor taught me to be humble. Daredevil taught me to not be defined by my disabilities. It says by your disabilities. Ant-Man taught me the smallest person can make the biggest difference. Silver Surfer taught me that humanity's beauty lies in our flaws. She-Hulk taught me feminine strength is not to be underestimated. Stan Lee taught me how to be a decent human being. # enough said.
Yeah. Wow.
I thought that was great.
That was absolutely amazing.
Great. Really good. Thank you for sharing that, Dan. That was great.
So what do some of our other listeners think about Stan Lee's creations? We've talked a lot about his creations. I think that's the right thing to do. I think he would want people to talk about what he'd created. He loved his characters. So
Sure.
I don't think we're doing him a disservice by doing that, are we?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Right in if you think we are.
Send us a stamp. What am I talking about? Anyway, right. Can we share this a bit so it's not just me?
Yeah, sure.
I'll read the first two on the top here because we got some input from Instagram as well.
What the hell?
I know, right?
What?
Oh my goodness!
God. I don't know what to say about that.
So on Instagram we had two replies to the tweet or to the picture. Geeky Jack said, "My all-time favourite Stan Lee creation is Daredevil. I find him a really intriguing and troubled character, a lawyer that breaks the law daily, a Catholic that dresses as the devil. There's a darkness in him that a lot of other Stan Lee creations don't have."
Well,
I thought that was great.
It is good and
really eloquently put.
The thing I pull out of that is that one of the defining features of Daredevil, if you're a Daredevil fan, is you know that he's a Catholic. Right?
Yeah.
That's crucial.
Yes.
Stan Lee was definitely a Jew. He was part of the Judaism religion.
Yeah. He was Jewish, is what you're trying to say, right? Yeah. Thank you. I'm just
not how he writes that so well. He's able to step out of his own religion and go, no, I'm going to be this man who is like this.
He did his research.
Well, I guess so, but I mean, more than that, it's what defines the character. More than him being blind, more than him being a lawyer and breaking the law. That's
quite a big part of it.
He was born in what, 1928? 28 or 22, beg your pardon. So he grew up. He was born in New York. He grew up in New York, right?
Yeah.
So he was surrounded by people of all religions, all ethnicities, because New York was the entry to the New World, to America. I don't think he would have had to have worked hard to find people who were Catholic and get some opinions from them about how to write this Catholic
probably
character.
not, but to write it
so well,
so authentically is perhaps what I'm getting at.
I think what we, it's like an actor going in and trying to taking on a part and having to learn everything about it. But what Stan Lee's doing is he's doing that for so many different things.
Absolutely.
And then writing comics that are, I mean, how many issues I do not know, but
it's about 100 odd of Spider-Man and the rest. Yeah,
but it's still a lot. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Gosh, that's a lot. That's a long run. Yeah,
that's a long run. Also on Instagram, before I share the love around you, and you guys can read some. a colleague of ours, friend of ours, Hustweight Steve.
He's not my friend.
He went a little bit off message.
Yeah, I don't really like him either. He's a bit of a jerk.
Oh, wow.
Why did he say it 3 times?
So mean. Yeah, he apologised for that.
Yeah.
He went a little bit off message and said that his favourite cameo of Stan Lee in the MCU universe was Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, that is pretty good. That is a pretty good
guy
one.
who gives Thor a haircut.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's good.
I think my favourite cameo was in it was Guardians 2, wasn't it? Where he's with the Watchers. Was that in Guardians 2?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
That was for me. That was the most meta.
Yes,
because it kind of allowed for the theory that Stan Lee was a Watcher or was working for the Watchers.
Yeah,
and
that's why he's always around.
And it kind of approved. Yeah. It kind of approved and ratified every appearance. I was like, yeah, that's okay. That's cool. Apparently he's got a couple of cameos still coming up.
Yeah,
Captain Marvel
I've
and
heard that.
Avengers 4.
Mine actually is the most recent in Ant-Man and the Wasp, when he's there and his car gets stung and it shrinks down and he basically says, well, the 60s were fun, but I'm now paying for it.
Yeah. Very
I
good.
just think you can
That's
just like,
good.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Shall I dive in with one?
Yes, go ahead. We now move on to Twitter.
So I am Jack's irregular musings. Hello. He thought that he was calling out. He was predicting our favourite characters, and he said you were Spider-Man.
Got 1 out of 3.
I was Thor, and you were X-Men.
Yes.
Far off with X-Men for you.
No, it's a good shout because they've never met me before.
Yeah. Thor, I do love Thor. There's no denying it. I think I enjoy Thor more in the movies than I do comic book Thor.
Saying that, you gave me a run of Thor to read.
J. Michael Straczynski's run.
Which was brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
It's really good.
Anyway.
So he said, I'm generally drawn to the more offbeat, darker edge superheroes, so naturally Daredevil is my favourite Stanley creation. Matt's balancing act between belief and desire to make for compelling storylines, and his yin-yang relationship with Fisk is second only to Bats and Joker.
Controversial last line there, but I agree with the rest of what you says pretty much, yeah.
That's definitely. A lot of love for Daredevil coming out here.
Yeah.
It does start that way, doesn't it? It does start that way. I'm going to read the next one just because I cut off the actual image and I just want to make sure that we don't get it wrong.
Does that mean you've got no confidence in what I would say?
Not at all.
I'm looking at it and I'm going, I don't get it.
Jim Bob Squarepants said, Silver Surfer. Co-created with Kirby, one of the coolest and most original characters ever created, in my opinion. I love the characterization given to him by Stan in this original run, which is one of the finest runs in comic book history, in my opinion. Absolutely timeless.
Well, Silver Surfer's really interesting because he's one of the most powerful beings in the universe.
Imbued with the power cosmic.
And yet is a pacifist.
Yes, he is.
He
a pacifist?
He spends time with animals on Earth, because he's trapped on Earth at one point. He spends time with animals because they're so much better than humans because they are not they're not mean and horrible and want to kill each other like humans do.
Well, he obviously didn't watch Dynasties last night
with
David Attenborough.
That was horrific.
Yeah, because David, the chimp, will not be agreeing with the Silver Surfer right now.
Let's bring it back into
sorry,
the
little nerd scene in there.
Sorry, I just wanted to say.
Yeah, no, Silver Surfer is great and comes out of Fantastic Four. So.
Absolutely. I want to say that Dan Slott, I know we're talking about Stan Lee, but Dan Slott picked up the reins of what Stan Lee did with Silver Surfer and wrote an absolutely fantastic arc for Silver Surfer that was brilliant. And it was like Doctor Who in space, and it was wonderful, and it made me happy and smile, and it broke my heart. It's beautiful, and I really recommend people pick it up and have a read. It's great.
Cool.
JP, over to you.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Well, we've got ex-geeks who have replied and said Daredevil. Again, we've got another Daredevil.
I know, right?
I think this is good. They say it's in my top 3 superheroes of all time. The idea of being blind superhero blew my mind when I was a kid. I thought it was such an amazing concept from Ben. Yeah. I mean...
What else can we say about Daredevil?
I don't know. I think he's...
Do you know what else I'm going to say about Daredevil? Do you know what I'm going to say about Daredevil?
I don't know what you're going to say about Daredevil.
What are you going to say?
I'll tell you what I'm going to say about Daredevil.
Okay, yeah.
I will. I love the fact that he is blind, but he's not blind because his radar sense and his sense of smell and touch and taste are so enhanced he can see. And it's never been represented better than in one of the worst superhero films ever created, in that Ben Affleck's Daredevil.
I love that film. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm sorry. I love it. I know it's terrible, but I love it.
The representation of his radar sight in that film is incredible. Marvel Netflix have only shown it once, I think, in maybe like the first or second episode, and they've never shown it again. That film did it all the way through, and it's brilliant. Sorry. Not sorry.
I have seen it.
It's terrible. I mean, it's the epitome of a guilty pleasure. I mean...
it is. Yeah. Yeah, it really is.
Everyone's shoulders are hunched. And
I
know what you're saying.
I don't really want to talk about it.
Everyone is just clenched tight, just waiting for it.
I'll do the next one. Okay. So this comes from...
all right. We're moving on, are we? Okay.
Well, I thought we were. I know we don't want to hammer Daredevil anymore.
Crikey, that was a bit of funny happening.
So Geeky Nerd has come in and said, such great characters, but I've always been partial to Hawkeye and Black Widow. Most others have a superhuman trait. They're gods or radioactive or genetically altered somehow. But these two are regular humans who rise above thanks to talent and dedication. I admire that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah,
me too.
Actually, do you know what I mean? Just normal human beings who work hard on what they're trying to do, like you and me, Ben, trying to make this pod better.
Unlike me, who's godlike.
Touche. I believe touche.
I knew you were setting him up for that, and I was like, don't make his head any bigger. Oh.
I think the theme running through at the minute, I mean, with Daredevil as well, there's a little bit of these characters who are more human than super.
Yes.
Superheroes who are more human than super. So yeah, I think that's really valid. And Hawkeye's really interesting. I think Hawkeye will be the star of Avengers 4.
I think you're going to be right with that.
I think he might save the day.
Do you think he will get a origin story of his own at some point?
He might.
I think they might move me onto the TV service.
Yeah, Disney Plus.
Yeah.
That's what they're calling it, aren't they? Yeah.
I think there's machinations in place for them to do a TV version of Hawkeye: My Life as a Weapon by Matt Fraction.
Could be.
I think so. Could
Wow.
be wrong. Sorry, just on that note, it's also an absolute travesty that Stan Lee didn't get to see the completion of the first 10 years of the MCU with Avengers 4.
But he might have done.
He might have done. I hope he did see.
I'm sure he got a private screen.
Yeah,
he would have known it.
Yeah,
I think.
But I know you mean
he something there with those two. Cause that's great.
Yeah,
humans living with gods.
Right, I'm getting sick of this now.
Okay.
Kinnear Reviews says it has to be Daredevil as a guy with a disability. Myself, the stories of Matt Murdock taught me not to let it define me or let the condition control my life. Yeah, well, Kinnear Reviews. Yeah, you. Yeah, all right, fair enough. I mean, he's a great character.
Steady on. All right, easy.
I'm just getting sick of all the Daredevil love.
I think it's great.
Yeah, no,
trust me, it changes up.
I'm sure. Cool. I'm going to read the next one then because I just got 2 Daredevils in a row.
Okay, go ahead.
We Have a Hulk. Very good friends. We Have a Hulk podcast. They said that Jack and the Geek Talk beat them to it. So spoilers for further ahead, I suppose.
Yeah, I haven't put that in the right order.
But for them, it has to be Spider-Man. He was the first superhero that they were introduced to as a kid. And they've had a soft spot for him ever since.
Yeah.
As Dave from Jack and the Geek Talk is about to say, he was just a regular school kid, but that would help anyone who needed it. His real power is his heart.
So on that note, I better read out what Dave from Jack and the Geek Talk said.
Yeah,
he
please.
said, I'm going for the obvious Spider-Man. He was a normal kid, same troubles as us, school, work, girls, but able to show the height of heroism when needed. Having his identity completely hidden allows us to put ourselves behind the mask and become the wall crawler. We are Spider-Man.
Nice.
That's a narrative tool that you can use quite often, and I'll relate. Everyone's going to hate me for this, but I'll relate Spider-Man. Thanks, Spider-Man to the Twilight series.
Okay.
So
please don't ever do this again. This is your one time you're allowed to do this.
What's the Twilight series?
You know, the vampires
and werewolves in love with
Twilight, yeah.
Oh, that?
Yeah. You hate me right now. But
now I know what you're talking about. I'm tapped out.
No, let me explain.
No, don't.
Edward, who's the main vampire in that,
Yes.
is described. I haven't read it, but this is what I understand.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Sorry.
He's described in infinite detail. Every single part of him is described. He is the most stunning, beautiful man. He's wonderful. Everything about him is described in immaculate detail. Bella, who's the narrator, is not described very much at all, and that is by design, so that when you read it, you can be Bella. And Spider-Man is the same because he is everyone. He is you, me. He has the problems that we all have. He lives the lives we all live. We all went to school. We all have to go and get a job. We all have family members we have to take care of. We all want to have a partner that we want to try and struggle with our lives, but you also have something else going on, our hidden lives that are on. Spider-Man.
We've all got to fight an octopus.
Yeah.
Yeah, or a rhino.
Have you not fought an octopus today?
Sure, yeah.
I've had 2 this morning.
Yeah. So that's my point, is that it's a narrative tool to allow you to get more in-depth into the character because you are the character.
You're so wise.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm godlike. We've covered this.
Pity you've got a dark heart.
So leading on from that, I should follow up with Spider Dan and the Secret Boars, who gave us that lovely, eloquent statement earlier on.
Yeah.
Said, hashtag Spider-Man, the blueprint for all modern superheroes.
Tend to agree.
And Marcus said...
No, let him go, because
it's another Spider-Man one.
I'm completely lost in the document now
okay.
because we've been going up and down. So I'm now clueless, so I'm just going to make something up.
Wow.
You're going to say,
Marcus said, Stan created many great things, but for me, his greatest creation was Spider-Man. He shows us that anyone, like you just said, Nate, can be a hero. You don't have to be rich or the child of a god or an alien. He's a normal kid who deals with both supervillains and his own problems. A real hero.
Yeah.
We can now pick back up after Jack and the Geeks talk.
Oh, I don't
if
even
you're
know.
scrolling down.
Is that Lillian Sue by any chance?
It might be, yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. She's writing, The Winter Soldier. I appreciate my broken anti-heroes who somehow still have the will to live. It's both inspiring and heartbreaking.
Now, point of order here.
Oh, Ben's got his big finger out.
Wow, it's not that big, trust me.
I
I thought that Ed Brubaker actually created the Winter Soldier. What Stan Lee did was bring back Captain America, and with Captain America came Bucky. Bucky became the Winter Soldier later.
Okay.
So I've asked that question on Twitter. I'm pretty sure I'm right with that.
Are we talking on a technicality here?
A little bit, but I think
we'll allow
the
it,
character existed
Yes.
in Stan's hands,
Yes.
and then was moulded by Ed.
Yeah.
It was a bit like the scene in Ghost with the spinning bowl, where Stan's in the middle, and then Ed Brubaker comes around behind.
The Patrick Swayze scene.
And then they start sort of like rubbing each other, and it was a really wonderful experience for everyone.
With the Righteous Brothers in the background.
Yes,
I believe.
exactly right. That's what happened. Seb Reeves says, "I love his work, and it's hard to choose a favourite film from the likes of Spidey or the Hulk. If I was to choose one, it would have to be from the first comic I ever read, The Fantastic Four." Yes, Seb, you're wise. Through the first family of Marvel, Stan Lee introduced me to the colourful world of the superhero. Yes, I completely and utterly agree. I think they're the blueprint for superheroes. I know that Dan said that Spider-Man was, but I think Fantastic Four have so much... they have unique problems in their own right, and then come together as a family. Mm-hmm. Really good.
Smashed it.
Robert?
Oh, I'm doing Robert.
You're doing Robert.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
fine.
Delegating.
Well, you're orchestrating. So hard to choose, but I'm going with Spider-Man. He's fun and geeky, but a total badass when it comes down to it. A bit more comic relief than some of the other Marvel heroes.
That is true. He always does... See, Stan does do that. Stan does do that with his characters. Spidey has the quips, as you would call it. He's always quipping with his foes. But then in Fantastic Four... The Thing is like that. It's clobbering time.
I like clobbering time.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Ben just gave a really weird look, like, what are you talking about?
I think Ben's lost himself on his own document.
No. I just realised there was something missing, which I've just added back in. Go ahead.
Brilliant.
No, it's for you now to talk about what Fabian Pinapoo said.
Okay. I could say Spider-Man, of course, but his greatest creation was Uncle Ben. He taught us all that with great power comes a great responsibility. I seem to have added that in twice as well.
Part of me wants to just like slap Fabine up the face and say, "You, how dare you?" But actually, they're really right.
You're absolutely
I'm
right.
really annoyed.
That statement is what is influenced Spider-Man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Or
Uncle
Peter.
Ben.
Sorry, Peter.
Yeah.
Uncle Ben is the father figure we all wish we had, but we don't.
And what rice and sauce he makes.
Oh
Wow.
my god! I was thinking about doing that, and I decided against it because it was ridiculously poor.
Right, who's going next? Because whoever's going next has got a good one.
I'm doing it. Claimed.
You do it.
No, go on.
I can't. I don't want to.
We're fighting over Dantooine. Is that what it is? Is that what you're saying?
Dantooine. They're on Dantooine.
Love a bit of Dantooine, Dan Burden. Still raw to talk about, but to put it in a good sense, grand sense, Stan Lee's greatest creation is superhero comic books as we know them. Yes, he co-created many of them, but Stan Lee simply was Marvel. Can't think of many who had that level of cultural impact. He's the reason we have this.
And this was the Marvel Cinematic Universe GIF, basically.
Yeah. Cool. Good.
Awesome.
Tend to agree?
I completely agree. I think that was... We almost should have ended on that, to be perfectly honest
Well,
with
we
you.
can.
Okay, fine. But there's a funny one that I really want to end on.
Yeah,
No, go on. You end
But
on
what
it.
Dan says here, it bleeds into everything that we've all been saying, and that is, yes, he came up with these great characters. Yes, he did this. Yes, he created himself. And yeah, he might have had some issues with people, but we wouldn't have...
What we've got now.
We wouldn't have what we have now without him. And I love that. Now, I'm booking this is great because it sort of leads on from what Dan said, but then it throws in a nice little curveball at the end, which I found hilarious. So Neil Byrne said, as was said before, I don't think it's really just the characters he created, but more everything that he did for comics in general. His influence is everything, and I firmly believe that without him, it wouldn't be the industry it is now. But if I have to pick a character, then it's Thor. I replied to him and I said, that is absolutely brilliant. That's made my night. That he said, he followed on from what Dan said, it's all really eloquent, and it's, yes, society would be different. But look, if I've got to pick someone, it's Thor. He's got a big hammer. I love it. It's just great.
We haven't touched on Thor at all.
No.
Well, a little bit. We've danced across him a bit here and there.
Thor in the comics is vastly different to Thor in the movies. There are two characters in the comics.
Yes, there
Donald
are.
Blake and Thor.
Yes,
and the movies
one is
are
hiding
like,
the other. Yeah.
Movies are like, too much. We'll just get on with it.
Why is it too much? I don't know. Educate.
So Donald Blake is a doctor who is a cripple.
Right.
He has a walking stick. Is that right? Or does he have a frame? I don't know. He's not as agile as a superhero.
Right. Or a normal bit person, shall we say?
Normal, air quotes.
Yeah.
And he is chosen to take the embodiment of Thor, the Asgardian god.
Yeah.
And what happens is Donald Blake hits his walking stick onto the ground, and a bolt of lightning comes down, and they swap places. So where Thor was up in Asgard, Donald Blake goes up there, and then Thor goes down to Earth, and he's got Mjolnir, and he fights and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that was deemed a little bit too much for a blossoming superhero universe to sort of translate to your average viewer. Yeah. So they didn't do that.
Interesting, but it makes for a bit of a Hulk type character because they have a communication between the two. They have a telepathy of sorts. So I think that's what Stan did well, not necessarily just with Thor, with other characters, is that duality.
Yes,
and that's
definitely.
what they had. So
definitely
cool.
So I think that's probably the end of the podcast.
Yeah, I think so. Oh,
I think it is. Yeah,
I
think it is.
No.
Well, I just rest in peace, Stan. Thank you for everything you gave us, and we'll try and do the best we can with what you left us. It's the most I can say, I think.
Wow.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I'm going to end it with Excelsior.
Nice one.